Hi everyone, this is a project report for CS506 on the police overtime project. So the motivation behind this project is to uncover some sort of interesting trends and patterns that exist within the Boston Police Department, and for this purpose we are visualizing 5 different data sets. The slide over here just highlights the general trends that was uncovered within the data set, and here we can observe that Bureau of Field Services was allocated the most budget for the financial year 2025, and the Bureau of Community Engagement was allocated the least budget, and there are also significant variations of budget cuts and budget increases. So the graphs over here indicate how the budget allocation across different programs have varied from the fiscal year of 2022 to 2025 and 2024 to 2025. Bureau of Intelligence and Investigative Services have seen a significant decline in its budget consistently, with Intelligence and Analysis seeing a mild increase in its budget. Overall, the professional standards and professional development have seen a constant increase in its budget. So over here we can just observe the different trends that exist within each program, and one of the interesting trends is that current charges and obligations have seen a staggering increase of 5,523% from 2022 to 2025. We also see that there is a clear increase in the budget and equipments across various different departments, highlighting the need of operational expanse.
For the second part of the data analysis, we took a look at the difference between 2023 and 2024 for the Boston Police Department. As we can see, regular pay increased from 2023 to 2024, but made up a lower percentage of the total earnings, while overtime is consistent across 2023 and 2024. The largest increases were seen in retro and detail pay, which each increased more than 5% to each of the total pay distributions. Secondly, we can see the average salaries and overtime for Boston Police Department and non-Boston Police Department employees followed a similar trend from 2011 to 2023, and the anomaly of 2024 was explained in the previous section. And from our moving average, we can see that non-Boston Police Department employees followed a more consistent increase in regular pay and overtime. Next, we took a closer look at injury pay within the Boston Police Department, and as we can see in 2024, more than 30% of the employees in the Boston Police Department received injury pay, and that is the largest number of employees who received it since this data has been made available. Finally, we took a closer look at the injury pay within the Boston Police Department. As we can see from the graph, from 2023 to 2024, the total injury pay increased, but the average injury pay dropped more than 50%, and internal investigation is needed to determine the reason for this large increase in the number of employees taking injury pay.
Here we have done the basic pre-processing and feature extractions, and also done the text classification in order to extract the key features from the reasoning data. These two plots represent about the zip codes and the frequency of primary reasons for the FIO stops, where the most amount of stops were regarding the drug-related issues. This plot represents about the summons issued, and exceeding 30% of the summons is related to the drug data, and next one is the traffic violation. This plot represents the primary reasons trend over the time, and linking these findings to the overtime, we observe that the longer higher risk stops are often associated with the drug related incidents and tend to drive higher overtime costs.
So the bar plot on the right shows that the top 5 customers account for over 50% of all customer-related overtime, with the top company leading at approximately 5 million hours, which is more than double that of any other customer. The next plot shows us clear seasonal patterns, with March and May having the highest overtime and December having the lowest. In early 2014, overtime hours suddenly increased from non-zero to 4 to 6 million hours monthly, and the pandemic period from 2020 to 2021 shows unprecedented overtime levels. So the last two plots show us that there is a dramatic data discrepancy between numerical ranks averaging to about 500 hours of overtime versus text ranks. Also, rank 9 dominates overtime distribution at nearly 70% of all overtime hours.
Notable visualizations of wage patterns across ethnicities, with white officers earning the highest and Hispanic officers earning the lowest when comparing the average. When comparing the hours worked for each month, it should be noted that white and Hispanic officers worked more on average. But when comparing the hours worked for each year, Hispanic officers worked more on average. There's an interesting discrepancy between the monthly and yearly averages, which we plan to look into. This here explains the high hourly average across white officers, as can be seen here, where there are higher proportion of white officers. There are a lot more white officers when compared to black officers, as can be seen in graph. These are the position patterns. The anomaly in here is the student officers, who are in general paid a lot less compared to other officers. The superintendent, chief, commissioner and the night command in general work a lower number of hours, and they are the ones who usually get paid at least twice more than average. These are the gender patterns. Women command the same pay on average as men, but the number of women is significantly less in the department, as can be seen here.
For future overtime prediction, we use 2011 to 2021 as training data, 2022 and 2023 as validation data, and 2024 as testing data. We fitted 3 different models: linear regression, profit, and hot winters. Our best models were profit and linear regression, which had a validation mean average error of only $3 million. We used the best model profit to model a future prediction for 2025, and this prediction ranged from $86 million to $104 million within a 95% confidence interval. For the next part, for overtime job title prediction, our goal was to build a model to predict overtime pay for each job title. We matched the BDP roster with the earnings report from 2024 and pre-processed the job titles so that each employee falls under one of 10 different categories. The features we used for the prediction included job title, sex, ethnic group, and the task profile ID. We fitted a random forest model using hyperparameter tuning, and we had a look at each bias present in the different demographics by taking average error prediction of the model for each sex and ethnic group. On average, female employees are earning $2,200 less and male employees $959 more than what the model predicts. Similarly, for black employees within the BPD, they are earning almost $1,000 less than the other ethnic groups. This is a concerning fact as it suggests which there might be internal bias within the BPD, which discriminates against female employees and black employees.
Our analysis shows clear compensation patterns at BPD. Female representation decreases from 20% in lower earning bands to just 5% in the top brackets. Data indicates males receive approximately $10,000 more in overtime annually than females. Among ethnic groups, Hispanic officers average the highest overtime, followed by Black, White, and Asian officers. Statistical testing confirms these demographic differences are not random. These patterns suggest systemic factors may be influencing overtime allocation beyond job title alone. Our machine learning models quantify which factors predict placement in the top 20% earnings bracket at BPD. The models achieve 80% accuracy using demographic factors and job titles. Being a police officer has the highest predictive weight, followed by being male, which outweighs higher ranking positions like superintendent. This suggests access to overtime opportunities may influence total earnings beyond formal job hierarchy, as indicated by the strong correlation between overtime and total compensation.
So the purpose of this gender statistical modeling is to identify any sort of anomalies for each and every job title with respect to the sex of the person. And the thing that we have discovered over here is that some job titles, especially the higher ranking ones, are more likely to be given to the male gender in comparison to the female gender. And as an example for this, police lieutenant is one example where it's heavily skewed towards the male gender in comparison to the female gender. We used a chi-square test in order to determine any sort of statistical anomaly that may be present for the gender disparity purpose, and the table over here lists some of the high-ranking roles such as police lieutenant and police captain and such other roles. And here the hypothesis that we held in the previous slide that there is gender disparity is indeed confirmed. For example, you can look at the police lieutenant that there is like 45 people of the male gender and there is only 2 people of the female gender. The purpose of attrition modeling is to identify which employees are at risk of leaving the organization, and for this purpose we used a plethora of models such as random forest, XGBoost, and logistic regression. We also engineered new features because we considered the existing datasets features not to be robust enough, so we added extra features such as like the overtime hours like averaged over the past 3 months and such other features. Now this table highlights the top 10 employees, but one thing that is to be noted is that we need to take this with a pinch of salt. Continuing with the previous slide, the purpose of this one is to identify which features actually correlate a lot with attrition. And for this purpose, we use 2 different things. One is SHAP, and we use the random forest feature importance. Some of the features that is common for both of these modeling experiments is that regular earnings and total earnings have the most influence on attrition, and also some other details such as how much they're getting injured and how much they're getting compensated also has a say on the attrition amount.
As can be seen here, there's a significant difference among pay between white, Asian, and white Hispanic officers across different departments in BPD. It can also be seen that among recent hires of police officers, there's a significant difference between black and white officers' pay.
As we can see, we have done an outlier detection of the police officer and the superintendents. The above ones are the superintendents and the below ones are the police officers. When it comes to the monthly rate, the amount of hours worked by the police officers and the superintendents are the same, but it is not the same case when it comes to the annual rate because the police officers worked overtime than the superintendents.